Why is God doing what God is doing? I don't know.
The remains of 41 people killed in the Washington, D.C. plane crash have been recovered. In a press briefing Friday, we learned first responders are still working to recover more remains. 67 people were killed when a passenger plane and a military helicopter collided in mid-air. Emergency leaders believe they will recover the remaining 26 victims when the plane wreckage is retrieved from the river.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. As you know, a plane crash happened a few days ago in DC, killing many people. And again, it has me wondering, and many people wondering, where is God? So I did a recent video on the LA fires contemplating this question. This video will be slightly different. We forget that many people not only question where is God or his existence and become atheists after tragedies like this, but they also question his character. They also question who he is in his very identity. That is to say, not only do people become atheists, but they become heretics because of tragedies such as these. They begin to believe wrong pictures about who God is. So in this clip, Bishop Barron is explaining how to properly think about God in confusing times and when tragedies strike. Check this out.
Oh, the depth of the riches and the wisdom and the knowledge of God. How inscrutable are his judgments, how unsearchable his ways. You know, I do a lot of debate and dialogue with non-believers. Very often when agnostics and atheists attack the faith, it's along the lines of, how could an all-knowing and all-good God allow, now fill in the blank, the suffering of children, or allow natural catastrophes, or allow animals to suffer the way they do, allow leukemia in a 5-year-old. These are just so anomalous. How could you possibly believe that an all-knowing, all-good God could allow these things? Much of the objection hinges upon the puzzle that is proposed by the existence of God. Well, see, here's a classic answer from within the heart of our tradition. I admit it, Paul says. I admit it. God's ways are confounding to us. How the depth of the riches and the wisdom and the knowledge of God, how inscrutable his judgments, how unsearchable his ways. So the atheist or the agnostic might say, well, isn't that neat? Isn't that an easy way out of the problem? We just say, oh, it's a great mystery. Well, not really. We have to realize whom we're dealing with and whom we're talking about when we deal with and talk about God. As I've said many times before, God is not something in the world. So I'm looking around this studio where I'm recording these words. I can point to various objects and people. I can go outside and point to various activities, and I can read the paper about certain events. I can consult the scientists, and they tell me about things happening within the cosmos. Okay, those are all objects and events and experiences within the world. Then there's God. The creator of all things, the reason why there's something rather than nothing, the explanation for the universe itself is not ingredient in the universe. Does that make sense? Is not a thing among others within the universe. I think very often the atheists and agnostics make that fundamental error. They think of God as some big object. Some say it's there, some say it's not. Let's go find out. But that's what God is not. Therefore, God, in our great tradition, is described as being totaliter aliter. That means not just other, like Jupiter is other than Saturn. God is totaliter aliter. That means he's totally other. God can't be compared to anything within the world. This means that God can't be seen. Now, don't think of that as, well, there's some visible things floating around, and there's some invisible things like, atoms and all that. But no, God is in principle invisible. He can never come within the scope of my senses or of my mind. The depth of the riches and the wisdom and the knowledge of God. How inscrutable are his judgments. How unsearchable his ways. Why is God doing what God is doing? I don't know. And that's not a cop-out answer. You see my point? That's the only answer I can coherently give, given the nature of God. Now, let me take it a step further. So that's the undefinable quality of God. But God is also a person. God's not some dumb, object or force. God is a person. I don't know about you, but persons are always mysterious. And I'm talking here about human persons. If you meet somebody and you can look at them and size them up and your senses tell you a lot of things about them, you can read about them, you can Google them and find out information about them, that's all true. But a person always remains elusive and mysterious because the person has got a hidden secret identity that is apparent to you only when the person reveals it. Isn't it interesting that married couples, married for 40, 50 years, will say, my husband or my wife is now more mysterious to me than she was before. That makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense that the more you delve into a human person, the stranger, more elusive and mysterious that person becomes. Now, combine these two things. God is an infinite, undefinable person. Therefore, how inscrutable his judgments, how unsearchable his ways. Stay with that last phrase for a second. Think of a little child in relation to his parents, a little 3 or 4-year-old. And the 3 or 4-year-old understands, my parents love me, but man, do they do strange, inscrutable things. Forcing me to go to bed when I don't want to. Telling me I can't do this or that, and that's the very thing I want. But when I'm hungry for something and they tell me, no, I can't have it. They take me to this guy wearing a white coat and he sticks needles in me, and I don't know what they're doing. If a child could be given the vocabulary of St. Paul, he would say, vis-a-vis his parents, how inscrutable they are, how unsearchable their judgments. I don't know what they're doing. Somehow, I know these two people love me, but boy, do they do strange things to express it. Well, obviously, the little kid doesn't have the capaciousness of mind to take in what his parents understand, why they don't give him candy before dinner, why they make him go to bed, why they bring him to a doctor who gives him shots, etc. Parents get it, but the child in principle can't get it. Now, take that, everybody, and lift it to the infinite degree. The difference between our consciousness and God's consciousness.
To conclude, while we can never fully understand why God does what he does, we can trust him. His conscience, who he is infinitely more wise and infinitely more ahead of anything that we could reason or any solution that we could create. We can trust in God because he is a God that holds the whole world in his hands. Nothing in this world, nothing that happens in this world is outside of his permissive will. The Bible says to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and to lean not on our own understanding. There is a biblical mandate. It is an imperative divine command that we are to trust in God and not to lean on what we know or what we understand. So while we might have reasons or theories about what happens during these times and what causes these tragedies, ultimately we need to trust in God and know that he can bring about good even from the worst evil and even from seemingly random tragedies such as this. All right, that's all I have for this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Remember that Christianity is Christ, and without Christ, there is no Christianity. See you in the next one. Peace.